Oh, sorry, one sec. Forget I have mine to where it shows all of us all the time, but I'll change it to what we did last week.
Yeah, I like that better. All right, guys, what is going on? It is another edition of the Bropinion Talk Show that is going to be over on Spotify and Apple Music in podcast form as well. We are uploading it to my channel, Georgia 3, but we may move this over to a new channel in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out for that. Welcome, John, back to our second week, and man, do we have a lot to talk about related to football today.
That we do. It was a big week last week. Last week of the regular season, getting into the fantasy playoffs. So it's we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to talk about our hits and misses, our starts and sits for this week. Big week, first week of the playoffs. A lot of people trying to make it out of the quarterfinals, including myself. So, and
Well,
you
I
as well.
mean, I don't mean to dust anything off. I ended up wrapping up first seed in the league. Big, crazy for the Pats defense is actually what did that, moving another guy in and dropping our first seed all the way down to 3. But before everything, I did want to have a moment of silence. Mississippi State head coach Mike Leach tragically passed away this weekend. So everybody at home, just take a quick beat with us as we remember the Pirate and all of his great rants and raves in the college football world. It has definitely struck a chord with everybody from the Pac-12 to the SEC. So take that with us for just a second. All right, thank you. Again, that was for head coach Mike Leach, who was at Texas Tech and Wazoo, Washington State, before moving to Mississippi State in the SEC, and did get a win in his last game in the Egg Bowl against Ole Miss. So thoughts and prayers go out to the whole Leach family, the Mississippi State family. And with that, we'll move on to the NFL. Let's start with the hit or miss. I highlighted the best hit and miss over last week. So if you tuned into it last week, I told you guys Evan Ingram was going to light it up. And trust me, did he go off. Evan Ingram had 35 points in our league. He had 2 touchdowns and was definitely the blanket down in Jacksonville. So I knew that was going to hit, and it ended up hitting very well, probably better than I thought it was going to. So
Yeah, you called it. I believe he was the tight end one on the week. So yeah, that was a hell of a start. So good job.
thank you, thank you. My miss last week was definitely DeAndre Swift. The Lions pulled it out. Vegas was correct. Lions definitely took care of Minnesota, but Swift was not involved in the offense all that much. But I don't think the running game did a whole lot. They were going through the air a good bit. So sorry about that, guys. Swift kind of was a bust.
Yeah, and I took a little different approach. I wanted to kind of go through all of my starts and sits from last week and see who was hitting and who was missing. And I'm proud to say that I had more hits than misses, although my misses were kind of bad misses. So, uh, last week my starting hits were DJ Chark, who got the touchdown and had a solid week. He was a top 24 receiver, at least in our league, like I said he would be. Hunter Henry was, I believe, the tight end 10, and didn't get the touchdown. He was like 5 yards from
I was
it.
about to say he went down like 4 yards. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh man, if he had fought, he would have got there.
he was very close to being the tight end. I think the tight end one, if not the top 3 tight end on the week. But still, solid effort, 70 yards, 80 yards, or I forget exactly what it was, but still a solid start. Michael Badgley did pretty well. He was a top 12 kicker, so I consider that a win. Chiefs defense with the touchdown, that was huge. Helped me get into the playoffs, so I'll take that. Not as good, but the Raiders I still consider a little bit of a hit. Wasn't as impressive as we had hoped, but I wouldn't call it a miss either. Still top 12, I think. So, however, my misses were Mac Jones and the Dolphins running backs. Man, Dolphins just got their ass handed to them. It's pardon my French, but
Yeah, that was a rough game for the old Finns. But I will say to go wrap it up, I think me and you have figured out our tight ends I don't know how to take that information, so you guys at home take that for whatever it's worth, and we'll start rolling into the starts for this coming week. It is the start of the playoff.
Sorry, don't mention that I just said to sit David Njoku, who was like the tight end 1 on the week. So
I was going to let that go.
I try to be clear and honest with the people, so maybe I don't have it completely figured out.
You don't have a future in politics then. Anywho, going on with starts, I'm going to start at QB. I think Andy Dalton at home against Atlanta, rivalry game. I think that's definitely a start. Obviously, everybody knows if you have like Josh Allen or if you have Patrick Mahomes, you're starting those guys. So I think both of us take a little bit of a chance quarterback instead of the top 3, because we can tell you we'll start Patrick Mahomes every week because he's a magician. Start Josh Allen because he's going to run through a brick wall or a car, or he'll find something else to attempt to hurt his shoulder and then get back up and do another play. But as a chance quarterback, I think Andy Dalton is a solid start if you're looking.
Yeah, I 100% agree. All of my starts, I try to find guys for you all who, obviously you're starting, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, those type of guys, like Drew said. So I try to find guys that may be on your waivers, maybe not. Maybe, you're debating between 2 guys, and this will help you make your decision. So I definitely try to go for guys like that. My QB start of the week this week, and I know he's injured. I know he's a little bit questionable, and he was actually my sit of last week. But New York Jets quarterback Mike White is my start of the week this week. Listen, Detroit, as much as I root for him, I love Dan Campbell, and I hope they make the playoffs. They're 32nd in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. They're not at home. And, we talked last week about Jared Goff's home away splits, which he threw for 3 touchdowns. So now he has 22 total touchdowns, 20 of which have happened at home.
Which is disgusting.
Yeah, crazy. I do think this game, because I do think Detroit is legit, but I also think the Jets defense is legit. I think it should be a back and forth game. It's not the highest over under. It's at 44 right now, but the Jets are only 1-point favorites. So I could see it totally being a back and forth game. I think Mike White throws at least 2 touchdowns, and I think he's a top 12. I think he's a good streamer this week, a top 12 QB this week.
I want to throw an asterisk in there. I think Jonathan is putting it a little lightly on questionable. He got hit harder than like a Ford Focus would hit him and got cut in half. I've seen that replay like 50 times. Kudos to him for standing up after. I mean, he got lit up, and it was there were some crazy injuries this week, some tough injuries. Definitely the non-contact. Shout out Kyler Murray, get well soon. But then there was a contact injury, and oh my God, Mike White got cut in half by another human being.
Yeah, I will say I did look. He is expected to play. I don't know how, because like you said, he got drilled on that play.
Shout out Mike White, dude. If he plays this week, go that. There's certain instances where us at home sit there and I'm like, I could probably do something if I'd have been in college. And then stuff like that happens. And I immediately go, there's no way I could play that. There is absolutely not a single ounce in my fiber that would play in the NFL, because I would be in the hospital for a week if I got hit like that.
Yeah, same, 100%. So, but he is expected to play, which is why he's my start of the week. Yeah, I may have to pivot for you guys if it turns out he's out. And I will. Check out my Twitter.
Yeah, go follow us on Twitter. If that happens and he's sitting, me and John both are really good about retweeting each other's thoughts and processes. Go check that out. So running back for me is going to be Pierre Strong. I don't think Harris comes back. I don't think Ramondre that one comes back. And they're staying on the West Coast, so they're not going to get jet lagged. They're playing the Raiders in Vegas, but he looked like a truck last night in his opportunities. He looked fantastic. I don't think either one of the other two come back. Raiders defense has been leaky at points, and I think a little him being a running back, wanting to show off, competing with Josh Jacobs, who's been an all-star to me this year. Definitely a Pro Bowler if I were to get a vote. I think that kind of fuels him to go, no, I'm here too. It's a good game. It's a good matchup for running backs. So I just think it's a good opportunity for him, and he'll take advantage.
Yeah, I like it. Like it a lot, and there's opportunity to be had there for sure. My running back star of the week is Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. Houston is the best matchup. They're 4 running backs, so 32nd in scheduled adjusted fantasy points allowed, which again from last week is a fancy term for basically the points that they gained or the points that they allowed over the expected points allowed to the position each week. So Houston is a really good matchup for running backs. I think this is surprisingly the highest over-under on the slate so far at 49.5. They're playing in Houston, but the Chiefs are still 14-point favorites. And when the Chiefs are up, they usually run Pacheco. I know McKinnon had the big week last week, and not to say he couldn't have it again this week. I almost did another pair of running backs as my start, but I decided to go with Pacheco here. I think the Chiefs get up. I think he runs the ball. I think he gets a touchdown, and I think he's a solid start for you this week for sure.
Yeah, I go with that. I look at what Tony Pollard did with the Cowboys. Even the Cowboys could not put Houston away, which was so weird. Because I've been raving about the Cowboys defense all year, and Houston just decided to really, really play. But Tony Pollard still had, I think, 21 points in our league. And I do believe you're right. When it comes to just straight up running, Pacheco does it. McKinnon's more of the out of the backfield. Let's catch and run the screens. Not that Pacheco can't catch, but McKinnon's the better catching back.
Pacheco, he runs angry. He's an angry runner. he's running to hurt. So.
Yeah, and he always looked like he had a whole pot of coffee right before running on the field.
Oh yeah.
And then he jitters when he's ready.
Almost
enough to cause a false start.
You remember how Le'Veon used to go up to the line and kind of hesitate, and then he would go? It's like Pacheco does that before every cut. It's like he's just cutting all over the place. Yeah, I like him a lot.
So I'm a fan. Wide receiver to me is going to be Keenan Allen. They showed a lot of grit with the Chargers taking down the Finns. I love the fact that Justin Herbert, who was my start, had a fantastic game against the Finns defense. I think he gets better. He has more passing yards in the first 3 seasons than anyone in the NFL history. He did pass that milestone this past week. Keenan Allen's healthy, and when Herbert was in trouble, he immediately looked at Keenan Allen. The right side of that offensive line is a little beat up, so I think they start rolling it out, but Keenan Allen was on the left side of the line, something like 80% of their offensive snaps this past week when he was on the field. So they do it to protect that side of the ball, and then Herbert is able to throw it because he has more protection on the left side. Look for Keenan Allen to have a really big week, probably 9 catches. Going against Tennessee, but they are in LA.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I actually was going to have Allen be my star of the week. Tennessee is 32nd, so again, in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. So basically, best matchup on paper you could have for a wide receiver. So yeah, I like it a lot. I like Mike Williams too. I think both those guys get it done this week. So my wide receiver star of the week, and he's coming off a bye week. He's not always been the most consistent, but he's had big weeks, and I think this could be one of them, is Michael Pittman from the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are kind of starting, maybe sort of turning it around, who knows, but I think this could be a high-scoring game. It is a 48.5 point over-under. Minnesota is 31st, so they're not as good a matchup as the Chargers. I'm sorry, as the Titans, but the Colts still have a good matchup against Tennessee this week. And I think the game script should work out either way. I think it's either going to be a shootout and a high-scoring game, and Pittman will get it done, or I think they're going to have to throw to keep up with Minneapolis. So I think no matter how it falls, I think Pittman has a good week, and so does Jonathan Taylor for that matter. So.
Oh, no. So I think we're going to disagree here for the first time because I do not like Indy at all.
Wow.
And I was this close to having Jonathan Taylor as a sit-em because I don't think he gets over 50 yards. I was this close. I decided against it because he is Jonathan Taylor. But Indy, they had a great offensive line coming in. They do have a few injuries, and they haven't looked good all year. I don't trust the offense. So that is a big take from John the Stone this week. If you're listening, you trust his big brain in the NFL and that super special term that he uses of modified schedule to join points of something or another, then Michael Pittman. So that one we'll disagree on, but I respect your opinion. It could happen because Matt Ryan is incredibly gifted mentally. His football IQ is crazy. So if he can turn it around, the only thing that worries me is he is nowhere near agile to try to get out. So if the offensive line starts to crumble, they're in trouble.
I will also say that if you do decide to start Michael Pittman, you can join me. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I will be starting him in my league of record that Georgia and I are both in. And so if we fail, we fail together at least. So come join me on the journey.
Boom, mic drop. All right, so over on tight ends, I think this week going to Jacksonville, Dalton Schultz has a solid opportunity to do well. Their offense is starting to catch up to the defense. They needed their offense to take care of Houston, and I don't think they're going to just be able to run the ball the rest of the way. So I think Schultz is going to be out there. They're going to be down in the fourth quarter. They're going to need to do out routes, and out routes leads to tight end catches. So if you're in a PPR or a half PPR, Schultz gets probably 3 to 4 catches on the last 2 drives. That will save your game.
Yep, I like it. Dallas is turning it up at the right time, so I'm looking forward to the if we get it again. I can't remember if they're playing or not, but the Dallas Philly game, I don't know if they play again this year or if they might meet in the playoffs, but both from the same division. Either way, it would be a great game no matter what. So
yeah, that'd be disgusting.
Yeah. My tight end star of the week is the Broncos' Greg Dulcich. Now, there is a little bit of an asterisk with this one, but I think it's okay no matter what. Russell Wilson did have kind of a scary moment in that game last week. He kind of spaced out, looked like a potential head injury. We're kind of waiting to see what happens with that. I haven't heard the latest as far as whether or not he's going to play. But Greg Dulcich, the last couple weeks, has quietly been getting the job done. He's not had the scores, I don't believe, but he's getting the job done. But ultimately, we're following the same trend, and we're starting our tight ends against Arizona. We did that last week with Hunter Henry, and he was a hit for our start. So we're going to do that again this week and go with Greg Dulcich. We're starting to see some signs of life from Denver, so hopefully Russell Wilson's okay. He's almost thrown as many touchdown passes as he has bathrooms in his house, so hopefully Dulcich can tie that up or get him over that record this week.
Yeah, well, almost counts on horseshoes and hand grenades. I don't know what happened that Denver was in that game with Kansas City. They should have nowhere near been in that game. And I still stick with Russell Wilson being a complete dumpster fire. So a blind squirrel finds a nut in the woods every once in a while, so maybe he found a good game, but they're still a mess. And but that does lead me to believe that he will go to the tight end outside of Jerry Jeudy, who also lit it up this past week. But now that they got put back on the map, teams are not going to go in thinking it's an easy win. So they're going to get a better shot from the defenses. So I'm down. I like it. Where is that game? Is that in Denver?
It is. Yeah, it is in Denver. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, they always play better over there. So for kickers, I'm going to go back to the rivalry game. I think because Andy Dalton scores a lot, they're in the Superdome. Will Lutz is going to get a lot of opportunity on a very leaky Falcons defense, and whether he's kicking PATs, I see probably 6 to 7 kicks between PATs and field goals. I would not be shocked if the Saints put 35 or more on the Falcons.
Yeah, I could see that too. Divisional games, especially as Falcons fans, Saints Falcons is always tough, tough sledding, but I could totally see that happening and see Let's having a good game, especially against just a unfortunately disappointing Falcons team. But hopefully, we surprise ourselves even, and you get the job done. So I like it. My kicker star of the week, I'm actually going to go in the same division, but I'm going to go with Tampa Bay Buccaneers Ryan Suckup. Cincinnati is a good matchup for kickers, 31st in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. And I just see this kind of sneakily being a high scoring game. It is at home in Tampa, which I like when I'm looking for kickers to stream. And I also think that after last week's embarrassing loss for Tampa Bay, I mean, it wasn't just like embarrassing. It was downright like they made them look bad. The 49ers did. And rookie sensation, Mr. Irrelevant himself, Brock Purdy.
Bro, shout out to the rookie of the week. Definitely Brock Purdy. Oh my God. That kid looked like he'd been in the league 5-6 years, had no problem. I'm not saying every game will be that way. I'm saying that particular game, coming out, slinging it to Kittle, and then CMC with that insane catch. It was like a 40-yard catch into the end zone from a running back, from a rookie QB. San Francisco is so dangerous and so good. So, anywho, back to Suckup.
Yeah. Shout out Brock Purdy. Absolutely. So, I think Brady does what Brady does at home in the division, trying to make a playoff push. I think he gets the job done. I think the Bucks get the job done. And I think Suckup, kind of same situation like you were saying, is going to have a lot of opportunities either for PATs, but also just with the state of the Bucks offense. I think they get on the opposite side of the field, and I think he has a lot of opportunities to make some field goals. So I think he's a top 12 kicker for you this week.
Yeah, that was going to be my thought process there. Brady can move it between the 20s. They have had a ton of problems in the red zone, but he can get to the 30 to the 25, and that's mostly because people are going to run a zone between the 20s against Brady, which he's been able to carve up. They don't blitz him a lot until they get to the 30, the 25, and put pressure on him. And very little man is run against a Brady-led offense. So a little bit of zone will let them get yardage. I don't know they punch it in, but that is good for Suckup to get a number of 30 to 40-yard field goals. Going to the defense, I like the Packers. They're going to be in Green Bay. They're playing the Rams, who miraculously won that, which my apology, I'm looking directly in the camera. I'm sorry to Baker Mayfield for 1 week. That's all I'm going to, for the 1 week. He got a win, and no matter what you look at, coming in, having 36 hours to practice, and then play a game, not starting, and then coming in and winning that game, props. I still don't like him as a long-term QB in the NFL. I will apologize for the week. That's hard for anybody to do, to run an offense with 36 hours of being there with probably, 6 hours of practice time?
That's what I was going to say. Like 3 hours of practice? So, yeah, good on him for getting the job done. I definitely didn't think he was going to do it.
Here you're going to Green Bay, you're going to Lambeau and playing the Packers. This is a low scoring game. I would say, what is that over under? Probably 31, 35, somewhere around in that.
I'll pull it up for you. It's definitely a lower one.
Yeah, it's a low one. The Packers defense will keep them below 20 points. Now, is that enough to win them the game? I don't know, because the Packers offense has been crazy, but the Packers D will do very well against the Rams offense, and we don't know. I think Aaron Donald's still out, so
39.
Well, see, I was close. It was very close. And so me thinking the Packers at home in Lambeau, it's going to be cold. LA's not used to the cold. They're outside. Now I know SoFi has the open sides, but they're still covered. Lambeau's not covered. And those kind of games are a defense dream. So, Packers.
All right. Yeah, I like it. low over under. Packers are 7-point favorites at home. Can't ask for much more than that. So, but we got the timer going here, so we'll get a move on. My defensive start of the week is the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to go back to the well with the Chiefs again. Basically, start your defenses against Houston. I think last week was a fluke. I don't know how Dallas kept them in that game. I don't see it happening again. You're down Cooks. You're down Collins. And I'm sorry, but Davis Mills ain't getting it done. Who are they even starting at QB now? I don't even know.
That one guy.
That one guy, he's not going to get it done either. So, and on top of all that, Dameon Pierce is set to miss 1 to 2 weeks with that. I think it was an ankle injury he had. So literally no weapons, just absolutely abysmal team right now. And the Chiefs got it done last week. I think they do it again this week. Maybe Vegas knows something I don't. It is the highest over under, but the Chiefs are 14-point favorites. So I'll take that. Give me the Chiefs defense all day this week.
Yeah, if it's a 49-point over under, it's because the Chiefs are going to score 50.
I could see it. Absolutely.
So, all right, sits this week. I'm going to go with QB, Justin Fields against the Eagles. I love the Eagles. Now, they are in Chicago, but again, it's going to be cold. Doesn't allow a ton for the air raid, and if he's going to pick up points, it's going to be with his feet. It's not going to be through the air. Don't trust Komet in this, and that Eagles D. The Eagles are just a complete team. I love their defense, and I think they get it done.
Well, as someone who's starting Justin Fields, you're breaking my heart, but I think he gets the job done, and I'm going to call my shot that he is not only a top 12 QB this week. I'm going to say he's top 6 and rushes for at least 150 yards and a touchdown. Calling my shot. Boom. Let it go.
That's a big shot.
Yeah. All right, my QB sit of this week is the guy who got it done last week, but Jared Goff. We talked about the home away splits already. 22 total touchdowns, 20 at home, only 2 on the road. So you're talking miserable splits. You're also talking a Jets defense who is 5th in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. They're at home, the Jets are. And Sauce Gardner, man, he's just a hell of a cornerback.
And if they're going to keep Josh Allen wrapped up the way he did, sorry, bro, Jared Goff's not going to do jack.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that Detroit somehow gets the job done, but I just don't think it's going to be with Goff this week. So, yeah, he's my sit of the week.
And interestingly enough, my running back sit of the week is going to be Swift because of the Jets defense and what they did to Buffalo. Detroit is going to have a hard time going into the Jets stadium and trying to do that. I don't think Swift does more than 4 or 5 points for you this week.
Yep. My running backs of the week is any of the Seattle Seahawks running backs. Kenneth Walker has been awesome, but he's hurt.
I was going to say because they're all injured, right?
Yeah, they're all injured. I don't even know. I mean, don't even worry about it. If they're on your waivers, I wouldn't even bother with it. Go find somebody else. You're better off. San Francisco is the worst matchup for running backs and schedule adjusted fantasy points. I think even if Walker starts, I think if Walker starts and you have him, you're probably in a position where you have to play him. But I really don't like it. I don't think it works out for you at all this week.
Gotcha. So wide receiver sit-em is going to be Chris Godwin. I think Cincinnati's defense is insane. They are at home, but if Brady is going to be able to figure it out, he is going to go to the well of veteran, which is going to be Julio, or the one that's been there the most, which is Mike Evans. I don't see that being all that profitable for you. I think Cincinnati's defense is going to do really well. They may not limit the yardage, but the touchdowns are going to be very hard to come by, and I don't think Godwin's going to be the primo target. It's going to be one of the running backs out of the backfield, or Julio with the length, or Evans just because they have the most rapport. So Chris Godwin, not a great matchup, not a great start this week, so sit him.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm realizing that we've mentioned a couple of guys that are on the team that I'm facing in my playoff game this week. So I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop and for us to both be wrong and for me to lose this game. So I'm just waiting for that.
Well, you're welcome.
My wide receiver sit of the week, I'm going back to Detroit. We sat Goff, we sat Swift, and now we're going to sit DJ Chark. He got the job done last week, did great, and got the touchdown. Was one of my hits from last week, but I'm sitting him this week. Like I said, the Jets are the fifth hardest for quarterbacks. They're the worst matchup for wide receivers. Sauce Gardner is an amazing quarterback, and for a rookie to come in and do what he's doing is just absolutely amazing. I don't know if he's going to shadow Amon-Ra St. Brown, but with Chark on the outside, even if he does or doesn't shadow, I just don't see how Detroit gets it done through the air. As someone who's starting Amon-Ra, when Detroit struggles, they funnel it through the middle of the field, and that's where Amon-Ra lives, is in the middle of the field. Chark doesn't. He's on the outside. I just don't see many deep shots being had or connecting on. I think he's definitely a sit this week. And, if you have Amon-Ra like I do, you have to start him, and I think he's going to be okay. But I would even temper my expectations with him for sure.
Yeah. So tight end, I'm going to go back to LA. At Green Bay, it's going to be Tyler Higbee. He had 2 points last week. A new quarterback coming in. Baker pulled out the win, but it was not that he was looking at Higbee at all going on those last two drives. Again, they're in Green Bay. It's going to be cold. The Packers defense is going to do well, and Higbee is not going to do well. So if you have him, sit him.
And my tight end sit of the week, and we'll wrap this up, is your boy. You called it last week, but I'm calling it this week. Evan Ingram from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He went absolutely nuclear. He definitely got it done with the 2 touchdowns, tight end 1 on the week. He's going to come back down to reality this week, in my opinion. Dallas is a tough matchup. They're 7th in schedule adjusted fantasy points for tight ends. And I just see Jacksonville struggling all around with this game. I think if they do get it done, I think it's with the running backs and wide receivers. I just don't see Ingram being much of a factor in this game. And, he'll probably have 50 yards, but I don't see a touchdown. I definitely don't see 100 yards or anything crazy like that. So I think if you have another option, you should pivot to him this week.
All right. Well, guys, there is the stardom situm. Notable injuries for this week is going to be Kyler Murray. We do not know what the extent of the injury is, but he is going to be out multiple weeks. We did get that. Deebo Samuel has a high ankle sprain that did not look good. So keep those 2 in mind. And then I'm going to do a quick random pick. I'm going to throw it on Jonathan. He doesn't know we're doing this, but I'm going to say look out for Zonovan Knight. If you can pick him up from the Jets. Jonathan, just a random quick pick right here.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm not prepared at all for this. If you're going to pick somebody up this week, I go Chris Moore, wide receiver.
Chris Moore. So look up Zonovan Knight, look up Chris Moore, pick those up. It's been another fantastic week. Again, thoughts to the Leach family and the Mississippi State family with Coach Leach passing away this past week. But there are your stardom situms for the NFL going into the playoffs. Most leagues should be going into the playoffs. And then if you are lucky enough to have a round 1 bye, just sit back, enjoy football, and watch your friends be uneasy for the whole weekend. Thanks to John the Stone. Again, we've got another weekend. Keep an eye out on the podcast as well, guys. We might do 2 episodes a week going in. It just depends on scheduling, things of that nature. And definitely look for some live stuff. We may do a live edition going into the Super Bowl, going into bowl championships as well, where you've got Michigan and TCU and Ohio State and Georgia playing. We might do a live for that. So we're going to wrap this up. John, it's another exciting week. Thanks for coming on.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Absolutely. Looking forward to it. And good luck, everybody, in your playoff matchups this week.
All right, guys. Everybody, have a good week. Enjoy football. Fam Jam, we're out.